What's up, you freaking geniuses? So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to solve compound inequalities, all right? And we're going to get into some complicated examples where we have to solve for x and stuff like that. But first, I just want to quickly go over how to graph and write these in interval notation because I think it'll make it a little bit easier once we get to the more complicated problem. Okay, but if you want to just skip the intro, skip ahead to the 6-minute mark, right? So the two kinds of compound inequalities are union and intersection. So for union, you'll normally see the word or in it. Or you might see a symbol like this. That looks like a U. Okay, and for intersection, you'll see the word and. Or you'll see a symbol like this, like an upside down U. Okay? So for the union, a quick little example could be something like x is greater than or equal to 5, or x is less than 2. Okay, so if we wanted to graph this, let's start with this one right here. X is greater than or equal to 5. All right, so here's our number line. Let's put a 5. Okay, and we're saying x is bigger than or equal to 5. Okay, so x is bigger than. So the bigger numbers go in this direction towards positive infinity, right? And then do we use an open circle or a closed circle? Well, since we have this equal to thing attached to our inequality, that's when you use a closed circle. Okay, now let's do this one right here. X is less than 2, or in other words, x is smaller than 2. Well, we could put 2 right here, and then the smaller numbers are in this direction, right, towards negative infinity. And then do we use an open circle or closed circle? Well, there's no equal to thing attached to this inequality symbol, so that means we use an open circle. All right, now if you wanted to write your answer in interval notation, you basically just mimic each of these little graphs right here. Okay, so for example, for here, this one, we have negative infinity right here. So negative infinity and positive infinity, they always have a parenthesis. Okay, and we have negative infinity over here to the left, negative infinity, and we have the 2 right here to the right. And then we have an open circle, so that means parenthesis. Boom. All right, and then over here, we have a closed circle at 5. So a closed circle means a bracket. And then we have a 5 right here to the left. And then we have our positive infinity to the right. Right there. Okay? And again, we put a parenthesis around the infinities. Now, since we're doing a union problem or an OR problem, we have to include our union symbol. So we would just have to put that big U-looking thing right there. All right, now let's go to an intersection inequality. So this one would be a little bit different. So this one would be something like x is greater than 6 and let's say x is less than 10. Okay, so again, if you wanted to graph this, you could just graph each one individually. So we're going to have something at 6 and at 10, right? 6 and at 10, right? So first of all, we have x is greater than 6, or x is bigger than 6. So that means here at 6, right? And we have an open circle. And it's going to be in this direction towards the bigger numbers, right? Towards positive infinity. And then the other one, x is less than 10. So x is smaller than 10, right? So again, we're going to have an open circle at 10. And then we're shading towards the smaller numbers in this direction towards negative infinity. Now, if you wanted to shade this in properly, all you would have to do is shade in the space that they both have in common. So you can see that's between 6 and 10 right here, right? So we would really just shade this space right here. And I can draw one more just to make it a little bit more clear. So we have 6 and 10. The only space we would shade on this entire number line would be the space that they have in common, which again is between 6 and 10, okay? And again, they both have open circles at 6 and 10, right? So that's exactly what it would look like. Okay, and if you wanted to write your answer, again, in interval notation, well, we're between 6 and 10, right? And they both have open circles, so we would have parentheses at 6 and at 10. So the interval notation would just look like this. From 6 to 10, parentheses. All right, now, one slightly more complicated way I could have written this statement right here is by saying 6 is less than x, which is less than 10, okay? So this is basically a special case of the intersection inequality, okay? Because we basically still have our two inequalities here, right? We have x is greater than 6, right? X is greater than 6. And we also have x is less than 10, right? X is less than 10. So this is just a different way that we can write this statement. Okay, and graphing it and writing it in interval notation would actually maybe be a little bit clearer because we know that x right here is between 6 and 10. Okay, so that means we could just graph 6 and 10 right here. They're both just less than symbols, right? There's no equal to symbol attached to it. So we would know these are both open circles. So we could just put two open circles right here. And again, we know x is between 6 and 10. So we would just shade in the space between 6 and 10. Okay. So in a way, I think seeing it like this is actually a little bit easier, a little cleaner than seeing it as two separate ones. So I'm hoping you'll be able to kind of see that too as we work through some of these problems. All right, so now that we got this little intro out of the way, now let's jump into some more complicated examples. All right, now I made this a little bit more complicated, right? Because I added this +2 to our inequality. So now we have 6 is less than x plus 2, which is less than 10, all right? So there's two things you want to keep in mind whenever you have inequality like this. First, you want to isolate the variable, which in this case is x, all right? The other thing you want to keep in mind is you want to keep the variable in the middle of your inequality, okay? Don't try to move the x to this side or to this side. You want to keep the x right here in the middle. So in this case, what we want to do is get rid of this +2. So what we're going to do is just subtract 2. But remember, in algebra, what you do to one side of an equation or inequality, you do to the other side, right? So if we subtract 2 from this side, we also have to subtract 2 from this side. And we also have to subtract 2 from this side, right? We basically have 3 different zones or sides right here. So we have to work with all of them. Okay, so then here in the middle, these 2's cancel out. So now we're just left with x right here in the middle of our big inequality problem, right? So then over here we have 6 minus 2, which is equal to 4. And then over here we have 10 minus 2, which is equal to 8. Okay, and then your symbols, you just keep those the same right now because we're not multiplying or dividing by any negative numbers. Okay, we're just subtracting some stuff. So the symbols right here stay the same. Okay, so now it's a little bit cleaner, right? So here we have 4 is less than x is less than 8. So now if you wanted to graph this, now it's a little easier, right? So we're going to be between 4 and 8. So we can put 4 and 8 right here. And there's no equal to symbols attached like that, right? These are just going to be two open circles. So an open circle there and there. And then we're just shading the space in between them, right? Just right here. Okay, so now we graphed it, and in interval notation, we have two open circles, so that means we have two parentheses, and it's just from 4 to 8, right? 4 to 8, right? So that wasn't too bad, right? Let's just try a few more. All right, here's the next one. So we have -3 is less than -2x plus 1 is less than or equal to +9, all right? So again, the goal is trying to get the x by itself in the middle here, right? So the first thing I'm going to do here is get rid of this +1 by subtracting 1. And what we do to one side, we do to the others, right? So we subtract 1 from those sides also, right? So then here, those cancel out. And then here we have -3 minus 1, which is -4. In the middle over here, we're just left with -2x, right? -2x. And then over here on the right, we have 9 minus 1, which is 8, right? Now, we didn't multiply or divide all the sides by a negative number. So our signs right here still stay the same, right? Boom, boom, all right? Now, here in the middle, we're left with this -2x, right? So we need to get rid of this -2, and we're gonna do that by dividing by -2. Again, what we do to one side, we do to the others. Boom, okay? So then here, -4 divided by -2 is +2. Here in the middle, these -2's cancel out, so we're just left with this x, right? And then here, 8 divided by -2 is -4. And let's make that consistent. Okay, now as you can see, we divided all of our sides right here by a negative number, right? We divided everything by -2. So now in this case, we have to flip these burgers right here, these sides. So flip that one and flip that one. Okay, and then we can finally graph this, right? So the two numbers we have are 2 and -4. So we'll put -4 there, we'll put 2 here. Okay, so first of all, here we have x is less than 2, or x is smaller than 2, right? And then here we would have an open circle. So let's put an open circle at 2 right here. And then the smaller numbers go in this direction, right? And then this other inequality that we have right here is x is greater than or equal to -4, right? So it's bigger than -4. And we have this equal to symbol attached to it, so we're going to put a closed circle at -4. And the bigger numbers are in this direction, right? So we end up shading between -4 and +2. All right, and then if you want to put that in interval notation, well, we have a closed circle here, right? So we're going to have a bracket at -4, comma, and then an open circle is a parenthesis at 2, right? So there's your answer in interval notation. All right, here's a slightly different setup for these types of problems. So we have 3y minus 5 is less than -8, or 2y minus 1 is greater than or equal to 5, right? So we're basically going to solve each of these inequalities and then just graph them together, okay? So let's start with this one right here. 3y minus 5 is less than -8. So here I'm going to add 5 to both sides, right? These cancel out. So then we're just left with 3y is less than -8 plus 5 is equal to -3. All right, so then solving for y right here, we're going to divide both sides by +3. These cancel out. So then we get y is less than -3 divided by 3 is -1. Okay, so we have one of our inequalities there. And then the other one's going to come from this one, right? So we have 2y minus 1 is greater than or equal to 5. So we're going to add 1 to both sides, right? These cancel out. So we're left with 2y is greater than or equal to 6. All right, and then here we're going to divide both sides by 2. Okay, these cancel out. So we're left with y is greater than or equal to 6 divided by 2, which is 3. Okay, so remember, we're using the word or, right? This is a union type of compound inequality. So we're basically going to have two little graphs on our number line. So let's graph these bad boys. So first of all, here we have y is less than -1, right? Y is smaller than -1. So we're going to have -1 right there. And the smaller numbers, remember, go in this direction towards -infinity. And we're going to have an open circle there, right? Because there's no equal to symbol there. And then here we have y is greater than or equal to +3, right? So we're going to have a +3 right here. And the bigger numbers go in this direction towards +infinity, and we're going to use a closed circle here. Okay, and now we can put each of these in interval notation, right? So first of all, this one's going to go from -infinity to -1, right? And then we're going to have a parenthesis here and here. And then on this one goes from 3 to +infinity. And then we're going to have a bracket right here, right? And then a parenthesis right there. And then the last thing you want to do on this one is, remember, include your union symbol, just like that. And again, that's because we have two different intervals right here that don't intersect. All right, last one. So here we have -12 is less than or equal to -1/2, and then in parentheses 4x plus 16, which is less than or equal to 18, all right? So again, the goal is just trying to get this variable x by itself right here in the middle, right? So the first thing we're going to do here is get rid of this fraction, -1/2. And the way you do that is by multiplying by the reciprocal, right? Hopefully that sounds familiar. So remember, the reciprocal is just this exact same fraction, but upside down. So instead of -1/2, we would multiply this side by -2/1. Or in other words, that's just -2, right? 2 divided by 1 is just 2. So we could just put, let's clean that up. We can multiply this side, the middle, by -2. We can multiply this side over here by -2. And this side over here by -2 also, okay? So then here in the middle, these cancel out, all right? And then we're just left with 4x plus 16 in the middle. So let's put that 4x plus 16. And then over here we have -2 times -12, which is equal to +24. And then here 18 times -2 is -36. -36. Okay. So did we just multiply or divide all our sides by a negative number? Yes, we did, right? We multiplied everything by -2. So guess what that means? That means we have to flip our signs, all right? So here we're going to flip this one in that direction, and we're also going to flip this one in that direction, okay? So now we have 24 is greater than or equal to 4x plus 16, which is greater than or equal to negative 36, right? Now, again, we're still just trying to isolate x right here. So the next thing I'm going to do is subtract 16 from all three sides, just like that. All right, so 24 minus 16, that's equal to positive 8. Positive 8. Here, these cancel out, so we're just left with 4x in the middle. And here we have negative 36 minus 16, which is equal to 52. Negative 52. Boom, all right? And then our signs still stay the same, right? We didn't multiply or divide by negative numbers there, all right? So we're almost done. Now we just need to get rid of this 4, and we're going to do that by dividing by 4. And we're going to do that to all sides, right? So then here, 8 divided by 4, that's equal to 2. These cancel out, so we're just left with x. And negative 52 divided by 4 is equal to 13. So here, or negative 13 in this case, negative 13. Okay, and then again, our signs stay the same. Okay, and I'm going to scroll down to give some room. All right, now let's graph this bad boy right here. All right, so we're going to graph it at 2 and negative 13, right? So negative 13 and positive 2. Okay, so now we're saying, first of all here, x is less than, or x is smaller than or equal to positive 2, right? So we're going to use a closed circle at 2, right? Because we have our equal to symbol right there. And then the smaller numbers are in this direction towards negative infinity. And then x is bigger than or equal to negative 13. And we're going to use a closed circle again, right? And then the bigger numbers are in this direction, right? So then we're just shading right here between negative 13 and positive 2. All right, and then lastly, to put this bad boy in interval notation, we're going to have 2 brackets, right? Because we have 2 closed circles right here. And it's from negative 13 to positive 2. Boom! So if you found the video helpful, definitely leave a thumbs up down below. And if you have any other questions or want to see any other examples, just let me know in the comment section below. Also, there's a couple playlists attached that I think you'll find helpful, so definitely check those out, and I'll see you there.